ブルードラゴンがついに DS で登場。シューと仲間たちに迫る新たな危機。影と影がぶつかり合う究極の戦いが始まる。ブルードラゴンプラス9月4日発売。
Lieutenant Kaya Marganar, it seems people are calling you the Immortal. We've heard there were almost no survivors after the meteor crashed on the Highlands. And yet, you appear to be unharmed. How did you survive?
I don't know. What is the cost of my immortality? Lifetimes of battle. Lifetimes of bloodshed. Lifetimes of pain. I've survived here for 1,000 years, but I can recall none of it. As a mysterious magic power infects the soil of the world, the past must be revealed. Lost Odyssey.
俺は騎士になりたいんだ。
グル族を滅ぼし帝国に平和をもたらすのだ。撃て！
自由なんてどこにもない。醜い争いだけの世界よ。
誰一人守れないのか。
見せてみよ。運が人間の歴を。
新しい形の RPG Wii ラストストーリー。
鳥山さんすごい。そうっすか？
ドリームプロジェクト、ドラゴンボールの鳥山明、ドラゴンクエストの堀井雄二、ファイナルファンタジーの坂口裕信。僕らの夢が今時空を超える。クロノトリガー予約キャンペーン実施中。スクエアソフト新発売。
すべては君へつながる。コカ・コーラ。
Coming this fall, the most anticipated action adventure of the year. A story of one man's struggle to save mankind from extermination and his quest to win the heart of the woman he loves. An epic so stunning your emotions will stir, your heart will race, and your thumbs will be really, really sore. Final Fantasy VIII coming to a home theater near you.
Hey everybody, how's everyone doing? And I know this is a kind of a rare Tuesday stream that we're doing, but this one we've been in the works for a long time, and finally through some delays and rescheduling, we're finally doing it. Today's episode of Legacy Loading is covering legendary music composer known for many of the favorite properties. As you probably saw, there were some of them out there in the trailers of the Final Fantasy series mostly, but we are going to be talking about Nobuo Uematsu.
Nobuo Uematsu.
Nobuo Uematsu. Sorry about that. English is my first language, and I barely do that well. And joining me is my friend, Mr. Grimm. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing all right. And I just gotta say, man, those last couple of commercials, the Final Fantasy IX Coke one, that is wild. How did that happen? In the Final Fantasy VIII like movie trailer one, that was incredible. Where did you find those?
Basically, I knew about the Coke one from a few of the JRPG channels that I follow, And usually before I do these episodes now, I've been trying to do just go on YouTube and just kind of dig through all the game trailers and stuff, find the popular ones, find the obscure ones, or just try to find like ones that are from Japan or something like that, and just see if I can find ones that I think are interesting or fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think you hit the beat on this one. That's
Yeah.
I was muted up, but I was laughing out loud. I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, I've been trying to add a little bit more production value to it, and I feel like for this one in particular, I feel like it's more fun to do like, since they're throwbacks, let's do some stuff like this, you
Oh,
know?
oh, for sure. And as we'll probably see here, Uematsu is known for having a fun-loving side. So
Yes, exactly. So, I think before we get down into this, Mr. Grimm, one of our friends, recurring guest of the show, today's subject is obviously was one of the most famous composers probably in JRPG history, and
if not all video games.
and I would like to ask, so what is your favorite like music design that he's done?
Yeah, so there's two answers I can give you. The first would be like, what's the the best product that he put together as like a whole work, and for me that's going to be Final Fantasy VIII.
Mm.
Final Fantasy VIII is a wild composition. You have just this crazy variety of these orchestral, like you would have heard just a few minutes ago of the operatic scene while they were fighting Clashing Squall versus Cypher.
Hmm.
Um, and then you've got on the complete opposite end, you've got the man with the machine gun, which is this like upbeat techno beat battle theme. And you've got some of the best boss themes. You've got Love Grows, which is just an incredible romantic song. You've got just this huge variety. Fisherman's Horizon, another incredible song, Balam Garden. Just that entire composition, that entire game soundtrack is just basically, for the longest time, I would have considered it unmatched. And even today, it's really hard to say that there's a better single soundtrack for any video game.
Mm.
Although, with last year's Expedition 33, directly inspired by Final Fantasy VIII, um, like directly, it's one of the main games they cite as an inspiration, and in its music as well. But I think that might have done that similar kind of wild variety of just like crazy, like all over the place, like orchestral and then upbeat techno and this weird sort of mix. Those two very similar soundtracks. So if you really like the music in Expedition 33, give Final Fantasy VIII, at least for the soundtrack, if nothing else, give that game a consideration.
Yeah, as I've been kind of working my way through the older Final Fantasies, I started the Pixel remaster not too long ago. So I beat the first two. I'm on number three, and I guess you could say what I really like about uh, Nobu is that he basically put the big stamp on just Final Fantasy in itself. Just all the classic soundtracks, all the classic designs, the famous, victory theme. He's basically responsible for probably one of the most iconic jingles in gaming history, to put it very bluntly. Uh, everyone,
You got the main menu theme as well, like lots of recurring themes.
yeah, and I don't know the exact name of the soundtrack, but if you ever play a Final Fantasy game, especially one of the earlier runs when you're going into towns, the very simplistic, strumming of the, guitars and the little flutes and everything, which they did remaster and really brought it to life even more now. Looking back on just what he was able to do with, the limited technology at the time that has basically spawned and become this huge, part of gaming history, to the point now where they they have traveling orchestras now playing his music, almost damn near 30 years later, you know.
Yeah,
It-
like in Carnegie Hall of all places. Like this summer, they're selling tickets right now.
yeah. I actually just bought my tickets today to go to the Square show in Chicago.
Nice. Is
Yeah,
that
so
for the Final Fantasy?
it's for all their like IPs. It's got music from Kingdom Hearts, Chrono Trigger,
Oh,
Chrono
nice.
Cross, Final Fantasy, obviously,
Mhm.
Live Alive, which is one that I kind of am excited about the most because that one has a really good
Yeah.
soundtrack too. But you can honestly say, ironically enough, Final Fantasy started off as a Hail Mary, and it was to save the company. And the team that worked under him as well to help with that sound design too really also spawned off to become icons on their own too. I can't remember all their names personally off the top of my head, but from what I can recall, the original Final Fantasy sound team composed of I think 6 people, and you know all 5 of them besides him went on to become very big names in video game JRPG music, who also headed up other Square products and have also earned equal respect in their rights. I forget the woman's name off the top of my head. I am so terrible with Japanese names unless I hear them a lot, but I know she is also looked at as one of the best ones.
I wasn't aware of that lineage. I
Yeah.
guess that's part of what we'll be finding out here today. Is I've got a bit of a blind spot with a lot of the older games. Like I've played Final Fantasy 1 and 3, and I've dabbled in, but need to go back and actually play 4 and 6. But um, yeah, that's a part of the history I didn't know. I know all about 7, 8, 9, 10, up through the modern games, but I didn't know that.
No. Well, that's the joy about talking about video games. There's so much different levels to making a video game besides obviously the graphics and the gameplay. It's just more and more as I've gone into, listening and hanging out with people, the more I've appreciated probably one of the more under thought about, I guess you could say, but also one of the most recognizable things, and that's sound design, music, and everything else like that. Ironically enough, ACG. He was the first video game reviewer that actually turned me on to caring about that stuff and
The
paying
sound
attention
design.
more.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that he always like actually talked about the sound design. It wasn't just like, "Hey, the music's good." It was like you can hear the echo around the corner because they've got this reverb technology built in, so it bounces off the walls. And it's like it's a simple version of path tracing, like you would use in ray tracing or like in, modern ray trace lighting. That's what they were doing with sound, and they were doing that like years ago. And he would talk about that kind of stuff. So yeah, I agree. ACG has always been great about giving sound design its due.
Yeah.
Shout out to Angry Centaur Gaming.
Yes, shout out. And I will say, I am very happy that you also picked this subject too today, too, because one of the big problems I have for doing a show like this is obviously everyone wants to do like the big ones, like, oh, the Final Fantasy. I want to do Final Fantasy. Oh, I want to do, Doom. I want to do the big name IPs that everyone knows and love. But there are so many influential characters and figures inside of gaming that I think people just forget about or don't know about because they, let's face it, a lot of the devs behind the scenes probably don't get as much love or mention or even remembered. And even behind them is the musical composing team and everything else too. That's
Yeah,
even harder to probably ask a lot of video game fans, myself included, who those people are.
yeah. Well, I think this one, amongst all the composers that I know, for both of the two most famous Final Fantasy composers, that being Uematsu, of course,
Mhm.
who did for the vast majority of the mainline titles, but now with the modern titles with 14 and 16, you have Masayoshi Soken, and both Soken and Uematsu are behind the scenes. I guess there's something of rock stars. They've got a rock star sort of personality about them. So I
Yeah.
think these ones stand out just a little bit more, and they're unique in that way. And that's part of also what makes them fun to learn about.
Yeah, and on top of that too, like this past week, we're learning that the creator of Castlevania sadly has passed away, and on top of that too, the original like console designer for a lot of the Sega games, he also passed away, and we're starting to get to that point now where we're no longer kids. We're starting to be in our 30s, a lot of us. This show that we're watching was from 20 plus years ago, almost. I want to say, depending on. I think this one was a little bit later, so it might be 21 years old this year. And it's amazing to think that this one's probably going to end with Final Fantasy X was his last bit of work that he worked on when this video came out. So,
Another iconic soundtrack.
yes. So, let's get this ball rolling. Let's bring it up right over here. And let's start to learn more about this famous icon in the video game industry.
His love of music was diverse.
Nobuo Uematsu is very melody focused. He really likes the Beatles, bluegrass.
I love rock. I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin.
I love his mustache that he has right there. Very
It's an iconic Uematsu mustache, yeah.
Yeah. Look how young he is too over here still. That's still wild to think.
21 years ago.
Yeah, he looks like just a gray-haired man now.
I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin.
He started his career with a collection of simple tunes.
Like one of the most well-known sounds in video games is that victory sound. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, it's just like I was just saying.
Yeah. And that opening theme, like I mentioned too.
With his NES and SNES music, it was just brilliant considering what limited tools he was working with.
And created one of the greatest musical dynasties in gaming.
Immediately when you turn on a Final Fantasy game, you hear the soundtrack rolling into your speakers and you know you're in for a big, big adventure.
He's right up there with Madonna and Britney Spears over in Japan. This guy comes out with the soundtrack. People are listening.
This is the story.
It's absolutely wild. Somebody to cite Britney Spears. Madonna, like, okay, that aged interesting, but Britney Spears, you can tell it's the early 2000s. Oh boy.
Famous Japanese icons, Madonna and Britney Spears.
Nobuo Uematsu.
AC says it best here. What a comparison. I love watching these old things, man. They are so fun. They're such time capsules and they're so great.
On March 21st, 1959, Nobuo Uematsu is born in Kochi City, Japan.
My home, Kochi, is about an hour.
What does that make it? 59. So 1959, that's 40 plus 26 plus 1.
He's in his 70s. He's got to be.
77? Is that right?
Yeah, my mom was going to turn 70 this year, so she was born roughly around that time. But no,
67.
It's funny. He's part of. He was born on one of the worst islands in Japan, which I didn't know about that.
Is it a volcanic island?
No, ironically enough, the island that he was born on is the only island in Japan that doesn't have a volcano on it.
Huh.
And
so, does that mean like poor crop yields or something?
No. So basically, from what I learned about the geography of this island, it's split in half because there's a big mountain range that runs through it. So on one side, they get battered by the coast, and it looks like he was born on the side that gets battered by like rain and typhoons and stuff. And on the other side, they go through droughts because they don't get as much rain. In fact, I think from what I remember, it's island inhabitants basically were left behind because of the Industrial Revolution in Japan because they were separate and it was harder to do a bunch of traveling and trading.
Yeah.
And basically the island that he's from is known more for basically its religious path, like it's a form of Buddhism and stuff like that.
Well, I see where it's Osaka, Kobe, Nara, Kyoto.
Yeah.
So it's
hour I
what
played from Tokyo.
Southwest.
It was kind of a countryside.
I forget
There was
the
a
name
lot
of the island.
nature.
Starts with an S.
When I was in elementary school, rather than going to the
Senkoku?
city for amusement,
Senkoku, that's it.
I'd go to swim in the river or get a tent and go camping.
It's not long before this young boy from the countryside finds something he loves.
As for music, I enjoyed listening to it from a very young age.
When he is 12, Uematsu gets even more involved with music.
In my high school years, rock and pop music were very popular, and my friends wanted to get a band together. At the very start, I think we were playing Beatles tunes. A lot of people play the guitar, and the bass and drums weren't for me. So when asked what I could play, I thought, well, there's a piano at my house, so why not the keyboards? That's how I became a keyboard player.
Very, very stereotypical Asian right there. I can play the piano, guys.
I mean, there's a lot you can do with a keyboard. Like you
Oh,
can
of
get all
course.
kinds of sounds out of it.
I know. It's always fun to go with
Yeah,
the
it's
stereotype
funny.
of the tiger mom.
Yeah, Tiger Mom's like, all right, you're gonna learn piano training. You're 2. It's time for you to become a piano master.
You know, AC over here says already a bad translation. Whoa, what did he say then? He said middle school and English said high school. Oh, okay.
I see.
There you go. Thank you for doing a better job there, buddy. Huh. I'll be sure to let G4 know that they messed up. I'll get right on that one.
Didn't they come back with the YouTube channel or something?
Yeah, and it quickly failed.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I like that's another topic for another time.
Another time.
He's kind of a very traditional musician. He's very melody focused.
I love rock. I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin.
You know,
he really likes the Beatles.
You're gonna say?
There's one thing worth noting. They mentioned that in the opening, sort of as well, but in order for his music to even work in the NES, SNES era, it had to be melodic because when you've got 8-bit, 16-bit, like very basic sounds, you only have so many sounds you can make, and so the music lives and dies on melody. So, like, that's the only way to have good music in that sort of time period.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that, but that also makes it somewhat enjoyable too. Like you got to make it kind of catchy and stick, you know.
Well, it makes it that much better when you get things like the Pixel Remaster, or the orchestral, like the live orchestras, where they redo classic songs, but with a big band or with the orchestral sound. So they have the same melody, but now you have the added depth and richness of all the different instruments added.
That is true.
Bluegrass. Those are some of his musical influences.
Elton John writes such unique melodies. No one else writes melodies like him. I really admire that about him.
Nobuo goes on to attend the University of Kanagawa. After graduating, he spends time composing music for commercials and playing keyboard in an amateur band. But one day in 1985, fate steps in.
At that time, I lived in the building where a lot of aspiring artists, writers, and musicians would get together every night to drink. One time, a girl who was working in planning at Square came along. She said, "There's a music job at Square. Do you want to try it?" I said, "I'll do it." And that's how it started.
That's funny. just so random how like video gaming was back in the day. He was just basically living at a flop house on his own admission there. And it's just some random woman that happened to be working at Square at the time said, "You want a job? You want to come try it out?"
You know, if I'm being honest, it's kind of weird for somebody, especially somebody in his early 30s, but it's pretty much how I've gotten almost every job that I've got. And I've had a pretty good career, but like pretty much every job that I've had, somebody approached me and I was like, "Oh, sure, I'll apply."
I mean, that's usually how it goes sometimes, though. It's not always about finding exactly the right job application. It's just happen to be at the right place at the right time or know somebody. You know, that's how I got my current job is I was like, I need something different, man. So my old job, I quit and basically got lucky that my buddy's job was hiring, and I've been there ever since.
Square was a very small publisher in Japan. They'd come out with a number of RPGs for the tiny floppy disk type games for the Nintendo Famicom here in Japan, and they produced a handful of cartridges. But really there was nothing to distinguish them, to set them apart from the large number of small development houses that were able to thrive in Japan.
By 1986, Uematsu is hard at work for Square composing music for both the Famicom and a Japanese computer called the PC-88.
The hell's
His
a
early work
PC-88?
includes Blasty, Rad Racer, and 3D World Runner. But all is not well with the small software developer.
Square made a ton of games, and some of them stuck, but not all of them were popular. Even though they had a small level of success, they were in a fair bit of financial trouble. Really, they needed not just a hit, but a...
I gotta say this, because it's gonna bug me if I don't say this out loud, but he looks like Jared Fogle too much, and it bothers the shit out of me. I can't.
The Subway guy?
Yes, the Subway guy, and I hate it. I hate it. It's just driving me insane.
Things you can't unsee.
I know. October Mike says, back then it was always a hit or miss. Same goes to today, but most are failures. But back then it was more tense since gaming was not as popular as today. To be honest with you, Mike, I don't 100% agree with that one, because we did another episode earlier about the Intellivision, and basically like the Blue Sky Rangers and everything were just a bunch of college kids who worked at all these like companies like Mattel and that, just making whatever the hell they wanted to make, you know? I would say the reason why the video game crash hit was, from what we learned about so much from there, was just it was such a wild west that you could put out anything, and these first party IP makers weren't making any commissions off the game sales too. It was wild. So it doesn't really shock me either, because when we did the who's the Sonic creator? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Yuji Naka. When we did the Yuji Naka episode, how he got into video gaming, how he got his job was he just showed up and he didn't have any experience making video games at all prior to that. So
I seem to remember actually Nintendo has a sort of philosophy. They like to hire people who aren't game designers. Like they'll hire, what's his name? Shigeru Miyamoto started as a janitor.
I didn't know that, but Shigeru Miyamoto is an episode I want to do later down the pipeline, because we did one about Junpei Yokoi as well, or Gunpei Yokoi.
Is that the founder of Nintendo, or the one that oversaw the change from card company to games?
Kind of. He was there working on other projects too, and then when Nintendo started to branch out to try to make more stuff, like he made a bunch of simple games, like a pitching machine and stuff like that, and then eventually he made like the Game Boy and everything else that kind of followed with that too. We learned in that episode that Dr. Mario only exists because he was pissed off that Tetris was getting more praise than anything. So I thought that was funny. But let's get
Someone driven by spite.
Best way to be driven.
Mega hit if they were going to keep the company around.
Now that Uematsu has a job doing what he loves, the company he works for might go under.
That's some prime editing right there.
However, Square still has one more game up its sleeve, and Uematsu is tapped to be its composer.
Ah, yes.
It's Final Fantasy VII.
In 1987, Nobuo Uematsu is tasked with composing the music for what Square thinks may be its last title.
Square was having some financial trouble.
Final Fantasy, the name.
And let me make this very clear. Square would continue to have financial problems. Until eventually they had to merge with Enix because they kept trying to put...
And then they had more financial problems.
Yes. It seems Square has nothing but financial problems. Do you want to know why Square had to merge with Enix?
Because the budget for the Final Fantasy movie was.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. Get him a gold medal star right there.
I knew the answer, so.
That's good. Most people don't know the reason, but yes, because Spirits Within was such a colossal flop, and Square was like, "Yo, guys, this virtual actress, we're going to make her, and everyone's going to love her. She's going to replace, actual actresses."
I think it was the most expensive movie ever at the time.
I forget.
I think The Matrix might have overcome it, but
yeah, I think it was what, like $250 million in early 2000s Japanese dollars.
it was something like that. It was like in the 200 million range, I want to say.
That's insane. Well, for back then, now it seems to be like a norm for
The Japanese economy was doing a lot better back then too. So
yeah,
came from the finality of it. It was seen as the final project for the company. Basically, it was their one last shot at redemption.
The story was called Final Fantasy because, like, if that game didn't do well, that was it for them. So it was the final, attempt to save the company.
Near the end of 1987, Square releases Final Fantasy for the Famicom in Japan. Both the game and Uematsu's soundtrack win high praise.
Final Fantasy, like the very first one, it saved Square, so they could keep on making these games.
I did like this one after replaying it on the Pixel remaster. Very simplistic JRPG with like very linear, nonsensical story that doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah, no,
It
established the formula. I have to say, with the first 3 games, there's not a whole lot there in terms of like narrative depth.
No.
But like the music was always great from the beginning, especially by the time you get to Final Fantasy 3. I don't know if they're going to talk about it, but there's a really incredible song in Final Fantasy 3, which is I forget the name of it, but it's one of the overworld themes, and it's just it's very emotional.
Yeah, you know what? As someone who was not exactly the biggest Final Fantasy kid growing up, obviously, I've said it many times on here, I only played Pokemon. But after playing the early Final Fantasy games, the only thing I can just think of was like, oh, this is where Pokemon got all their inspirations from.
Yeah, I mean, there was also like Shin Megami Tensei was around. The Pokemon was basically a ripoff of Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah,
which would then go on to birth the Persona series, which we all know.
But I would say more so just when I was playing it, there's one tower in Final Fantasy, the original one, that I know for a fact Pokemon just ripped off straight up 100% and put it into their own game.
Yeah. I would be curious to see like if you could go back and look at like an actual development history of Pokemon, if they would cite their inspirations. I feel like most Japanese developers at the time probably would cite Dragon Quest, but I don't know.
I mean, that's not a bad one to say. Dragon Quest is still probably bigger in Japan than it is in the West.
Oh, definitely is bigger in Japan than the West for sure. At least from a population percentage. I don't know if the actual number, like the just because they have only 200 million people in Japan,
something like that. But like you were saying though, from what I know about it, there's a bunch of Dragon Quest games that were remastered and re-released only in Japan that we never got over here at all. And Final Fantasy was just the bigger game in the West. Ironically enough, one of the big reasons why Square and Enix merged together was basically that trade-off to kind of get more access to the Western market and vice versa.
Right. That's right. I remember hearing that.
And then October Mike says the irony of that name, I suppose their last game at the time gets called Final Fantasy, but it becomes a success. Yeah, that is the the kind of running joke. Now we're on Final Fantasy 16, and soon
I think there's been a lot of like revisionist sort of like nowadays when they talk about the Final Fantasy game. I think they say that it wasn't they weren't in as dire of a situation as people thought at the time. I don't know. It's worth looking up maybe after the fact.
Yeah.
But I seem to remember hearing a couple of years ago that hey, that whole thing about it being their final game, like that wasn't quite true. They had other things in the pipeline as well.
I mean, it could very well be true, but listen, let the air of myth and mystique hold.
Right,
strong,
right. It does make for a better story, that's for sure.
It's kind of like the Boston Massacre. It's called the Boston Massacre, but only like 5 people died.
Yeah,
yeah. And then we kind of just ran with it. It's like, it's a big British just murdered all of us. And it's like, well, actually.
And gamers begin to take notice of Uematsu's music.
One of the most memorable things about the first Final Fantasy is the way it uses motifs, like a John Williams score, a movie score.
Yes, I love this one.
Each part of the game has music which sounds like that part of the game. When you go out into the field, you hear the exciting exploration theme.
Song's another classic.
Yep.
When you're in a battle, it gets tense.
I love the fighting music so much.
This one
in
too.
The original ones, yeah, they're so great.
When you're in the ice cave, it's mysterious.
This one,
at each stage
Matoya's
of the game,
Cave.
he came up with a really great and fitting song.
And I gotta say, the Pixel remaster where they updated the soundtrack
that really strung together.
Oh, it's like it gives it a new life, man.
Yeah.
It wasn't just background music.
One thing I will say before we get back to Jared Fogle over here is that what I love about the Pixel remaster is it does let you toggle between the original soundtrack and a new one.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Touch. It's like the Master, what was it? Not the Master Chief, but the Halo Combat Evolved. The
Anniversary Edition.
The Anniversary Edition where you could go back and forth between the art styles. I really like when they do that sort of thing where they let you play a remastered or remade version of the game, but you can like see in real time, like, hey, this is what it used to be like.
Mm-hmm. It puts a lot of things into perspective, I think, too. Just when you have that ability to toggle between 2004 and like 2026 graphics, it's just you see the up-resing in the polygons and the much more cramped detail that they could fit onto a weapon is just wild to think about sometimes.
1 year later, Square releases Final Fantasy II, and again, the music is composed by Uematsu. Interest in the Final Fantasy series continues to grow, and people love the music.
In my mind, Nobuo Uematsu, he really brought a lot of soul to the Final Fantasy games.
Well, it's simple music, so it's easily received by people. It's easy to understand. And what I'm trying to do, also what Final Fantasy is trying to do, is not say something complicated.
Nobuo's music becomes so popular that a CD featuring his work from both Final Fantasy games is released on December 21st, 1988.
That's interesting. I wonder how much that goes for now.
Yeah, that's got to be a hell of a collector's item.
It probably is. I do love the artwork for Final Fantasy II a lot, too. I think it is a really cool key art.
Yeah, very unique for the time. Well, I mean, just unique in general.
Yeah.
Like one of the most well-known sounds in video games is that victory sound when you defeat somebody in a Final Fantasy game. It's like da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Not gonna lie, that used to be my text message tone.
Yeah.
And I was at a Yu-Gi-Oh event, and I just had won my match, and one of my friends texted me, and it went off at the perfect time. And me and my opponent had like one of the best laughs ever. I was like, no one will ever believe this story is real, but it was so funny. It's
like top 5 video game ringtones. You put that up there with the snake, like the warning message.
The phone call, the alert sound.
Yeah, and just Metal Gear in general. There's a lot of good ones there.
Yeah, or the death sound.
Yeah.
Like everyone recognizes that music if they played any Final Fantasy games.
I love
And
this
also
soundtrack.
the
Final
Final
Fantasy
Fantasy
II I thought was
II
much
Nintendo
better
game
than
had
1
the
in terms of
score that was
soundtrack
really
and
beautiful.
gameplay.
In 1989, Uematsu composes the music for Final Fantasy Legends on the Game Boy. 1 year later, he
Now, if I
continues his-
recall correctly, Final Fantasy Legends was not actually a Final Fantasy game. In all honesty, I think it was actually a mana game, if I recall.
And they rebranded it for the West. That
Yeah.
might be true. I don't remember. But
I
that
was
sounds familiar.
I was listening to something earlier about this that like last week or something. I could be getting mixed up here because I've only listened to this particular documentary once. But like Final Fantasy Legends was actually not a Final Fantasy game. It was supposed to be a different series that it was pushing.
It was Makai Tuishi Saga. Huh. It was supposed to be a different game. It wasn't meant to be Final Fantasy.
Yeah, they kind of did the same thing with what like the Mario World 2. It was something else, and then they just said, "Nah, we're gonna call it a Mario game and just change up the characters." It feels like that's what it was. I think it was something like that.
work writing the music for both Final Fantasy III and Final Fantasy Legends II. In 1991, Uematsu's talent is
Come on,
given
they
a
can't
little
just
more
skip
room
over
to soar.
Final Fantasy 3 like that.
When the Final Fantasy games move up to the 16-bit Super
What they
Famicom,
just did.
which would later be released in the US.
That's
as the
fine.
Super
4 has some really
Nintendo.
good music too, though.
With his NES
Yeah.
and SNES music, it was just brilliant considering what limited tools he was working with. He was able to get players to really feel a story with the music itself, and a lot of people think that that's his best stuff. Even though he has more powerful tools to work with,
Jamie
they really
fact check
think
this man.
he
I was
just
proven
brought
right,
something
so
really
suck it.
special back then.
Yeah, it was true in the
Uematsu
case of
composes
Legends.
music
I don't know
for the
about
next
Legend
3
2.
Final Fantasy games. Also lends a hand by writing some pieces for the hit RPG Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger. I've been playing this game a lot more lately. It's a good game.
Final Fantasy VI was a graphical powerhouse.
I can't
It
wait to
was
play
the
this
most
one.
beautiful game you'd ever seen.
It's
It had
a lot of people's favorite.
fantastic musical
Yeah.
score. The music is widely considered to be Nobuo Uematsu's best score.
I will fight
It
them
has
on that.
close to 100 tracks.
It's very good though.
Each of the 14 playable characters has their own theme. There's a large variety of music for the different locations, for the enemies and bosses. It's just chock full of music, and it's some of the best work he's ever done.
But even with the new advancements in game hardware, Uematsu is still limited by technology.
I think compared to what we can do now, limitations were huge. The amount of notes you can use were so small that you couldn't really do anything outside of what was provided in front of you. So even if I wanted to challenge myself, I think the limitations were right in front of my eyes. I didn't really have that much room to work with.
They
However, a
produced
new
some
system is
great
just around the corner,
soundtracks with like
and it will open up
nothing to
nearly
work with.
limitless
That's
musical
the funny part.
possibilities for Nobuo
Yeah.
Uematsu.
Again, it's all the melody.
Yeah.
By the time Sony releases the PlayStation in 1994, there are 14 CD soundtracks featuring Uematsu's music in retail.
What the hell?
He was huge.
14?
Yeah, I mean, one and two like set him up as like a pretty famous composer, but they really skipped over Final Fantasy 3, but
Yeah, they
3
did.
that had some really good music, and then both 4 and 6 have some of the most iconic music in the entire franchise.
Sorry, go on, finish your point.
I was just gonna say like they talked about how good 6 is, and 6 is rightfully up there, like top 5 soundtracks of the probably top 3 soundtracks of the franchise.
Yeah.
But 4 is not to be sneezed at. Like it's got some really good music.
Yeah.
Like, and again, they stand up with the best of the soundtracks of today.
I would believe you. AC says this was part of Square's business strategy. Well, here's the thing. To me, and I would say probably for Grim maybe as well, when we were growing up, we didn't get CDs for video game music. You know, it wasn't like a highly advertised thing. At least for me. I want to say I'll speak on my behalf, not yours.
My second CD was a video game soundtrack. The first one was the South Park soundtrack. So
I think mine was like now that's what I call music, some volume.
that was my third one. Yeah.
But I don't know. Just to me, I just never really saw too many video game soundtracks. So to me, to learn that Japan had 14 soundtracks dedicated to Final Fantasy music. That's
by
wild.
6, by Final Fantasy 6.
Oh yeah. Sorry, what did I say?
No, 14. You said 14. There were 14 is what he said. But that's 14 by the time of Final Fantasy 6. That's before 7 even comes out.
Yeah, that's so wild to think about. I wonder if they had cassettes as well. That's what I want to know.
Surely, what was the Walkman? What did the Walkman use? Was that like an MP3 player?
It was cassettes first. It was the first like Sony Walkman was a cassette player.
I imagine that there must have been, but I don't know. Square Enix was on the cutting edge as far as music, I think. So
yeah,
CDs were popular at the time. Maybe in like I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah, our friend in Japan here, Mr. AC, says, yeah, I see these everywhere. They really push their music. Did they have cassettes? Have you ever seen a Final Fantasy cassette? I need to know this now, out of curiosity. From your firsthand knowledge, from your retro thrifting. Because I would love to see one just of these, oddities.
Retail stores across Japan. The Final Fantasy games are now an established franchise, and Uematsu is one of the most respected composers in gaming. In 1997, Final Fantasy VII is released for the PlayStation and sells over 9.2 million copies in its lifetime.
Nobuo just blows me away. I'll listen to like Final Fantasy VII. I'll be
Tommy Tellerico, baby, let's go! Look at that photo, baby, there! Someone screen cap this. This is going to be my new profile picture. I'm saving this right here, right now. I need this screen cap right here. The man, the scammer himself, Tommy Tellerico. That's good.
The pause is a better frame.
You could not have timed that better myself. AC says, I have no idea. I never go and look at cassettes like a middle-aged man. Well, now you have to for research purposes.
I Googled it briefly, and it seems like there are cassettes, but it's like people trying to be retro and hipster and like making cassettes after the fact.
Oh.
But it's like fans or something, or remixes.
So it's fan cassettes?
I didn't do a very detailed search, but just a quick Google search, it didn't seem like they were released originally on cassettes, but who knows?
So that's what your homework assignment is, AC. If you can find a cassette, you don't have to look too hard. But I will be looking next year when I am in Japan just to take a photo and be like, it is real.
Orchestral scores and choirs and everything. And after Final Fantasy VII, I'm like, that stuff's amazing.
The song's classic.
There are actually a bunch of songs that I like in Final Fantasy VII. But Aeris' theme is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I know this one.
I also like the opening sequence where Aeris walks out.
Yeah, I mentioned this one before we started.
Very, very iconic, this one.
And then you see the smokestacks. And then the logo pops up. And then, going from that transition into the actual game, that part is something that I'm very proud of as a team. Not just the music element of it, but how it matches up with the whole opening sequence.
Yeah, all the sound design is really
good.
good.
And thanks to the PlayStation CD format, the possibilities for Uematsu are nearly limitless.
That was a huge leap. I did feel as if I could do pretty much anything that I felt like doing. And it gave me a lot of freedom to implement different ideas.
The influences from some of Uematsu's favorite musicians begin to show more clearly than ever.
I don't know if I would call it an inspiration, but there was a thought that I had in creating this.
Very iconic sound. Everyone knows what that one is too. Like you said, very popular. How do you say ringtone that you would say right there?
Yeah.
Also, here's something that AC's thrown out: Air's themes repurposed from 6. Do you know? Would you like to comment on that, Grim?
I'm not familiar if that's true. I could believe it. I know that Uematsu it's probably not accurate to say repurposed or reused. He does a lot of callbacks, call motifs or leitmotifs, where he will reference earlier works. So, like for example, with every Final Fantasy game, you have the prelude theme, which is like the main menu theme, and every Final Fantasy game has a version of that theme, but it's slightly different. You also have like that victory theme. You have some common themes that are reused, and like even all the way to like the modern titles. And I think actually Soken, the Final Fantasy producer for 14 and 16, um, he does a lot of these sort of leitmotifs as well. So it's very common in Final Fantasy to reuse portions or sections of songs. I'm not saying that what AC is saying here is incorrect, but I just know it's a very common thing in the Final Fantasy franchise to reuse sections or parts of songs, maybe like a melody or something.
I would like to counter and just say it's part of their aesthetic. It's not part of their sound, you know. So when you listen to your favorite band, like you could tell like who that band is usually, you know.
That's true. That's true. It's got like sort of a unique sound. I am curious though about what AC said. I would like to look that up here when we're done with this. But
all right, cool. We got about 8 minutes.
The specific piece was Jimi Hendrix. Take Jimi Hendrix and mix that with Stravinsky, the Russian composer.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now that when you hear it from the band itself, yeah, I can hear the Jimi Hendrix. To be honest,
that's what I was saying before we started as well. It's like he pulls a lot of influences from classic rock, but also from like the classic composers. A lot of composers out of Russia. He mentioned Stravinsky.
Yeah. No, but not when he said Jimi Hendrix, I'm like, you know what? I can kind of hear it now, and that's gonna just destroy me a little bit.
And it might sound very extreme, but I wanted to know what it would sound like to mix those two. At the same time, I felt as if there was a common element, and the result is what you have in the end of Final Fantasy VII.
And his soundtracks go from being movie-like to becoming something much bigger.
First of all, the big difference is in the playtime. A movie is 2 hours, but a role-playing game like Final Fantasy is at least 40 hours of material.
This sounds like Mass
so
Effect
the number
a little
of pieces
bit.
of music needed is really enormous.
There's some good sci-fi music in 7 and 8.
He completely breaks the mold. He's not doing like the ice level music. Here's a guy that just pours emotion into his music.
Wow, spoilers.
Also, I have to predict what the player will be feeling.
The game came out almost 30 years ago.
Story played out in front of them.
Still,
in the case
spoilers.
of games, the player decides. I think I'll go to this town, or no, maybe not.
And when the soundtrack to Final Fantasy VII is released on CD, the results are stunning.
The Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, there is no video game soundtrack in the world that has sold more copies than the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack.
What if that's still true?
Right
I was just about to say,
Madonna
yeah.
and Britney Spears
Pause
over in
it,
Japan.
pause it. Let's look
This
it up.
guy comes out with.
It still seems to be Final Fantasy VII.
Oh wow!
Just from a quick search, Halo is close behind Minecraft.
Really?
Let's see. That's best. I want best selling. Yeah, I don't know. It's a. Who knows how accurate this is?
We can't trust the source. It's Tommy Tellerico.
I'm looking at Guinness World Records, according to Guinness, the best-selling video game soundtrack is still Final Fantasy VII.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that. But it's also up there with Madonna and Britney Spears, so there you go. Well, I want to hear him say that again. We got to hear him compare.
More copies than the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack. He's right up there with Madonna and Britney Spears over in Japan. When this guy comes out with the soundtrack, people are listening.
Just when you first think it can't get any better.
That's so crazy. Back in the 90s, a Final Fantasy VII video game soundtrack was up there with Madonna and Britney Spears in the 90s. That's crazy to think about. Crazy how all remake haters never talk about how god tier Final Fantasy VII remake OTS was. OST what to you guys? Yeah,
It's really good.
It's really damn good.
And I was gonna say earlier when we were looking at the opening scene, I was gonna say like they did a really good job of replicating that in the remake.
They have done. Square has done a really good job at revitalizing these classic soundtracks, even with the Pixel remaster of just capturing his work and letting you hear it.
I mean, beyond that, like also you've got all the live orchestras, like we mentioned earlier, but also you've got Final Fantasy 11 and then Final Fantasy 14, which are ongoing. They're MMOs, obviously, and they do a lot of callbacks to the older games, and they'll do like fresh, new sort of takes on those classic themes. They'll redo them in the modern sense, and like there's some of those classic songs that have been redone in Final Fantasy 14 are just like incredible. So yeah, they really give a lot of credence to the legacy of the franchise. And the music.
AC says over here, dude, they literally have multiple versions of the same song and they all sound unique.
Yeah.
No, I do like when you're able to do like a little subtle remixes that make them sound different. You know what soundtrack also does a good job at that? The Persona games, specifically the dancing spin-offs.
Yeah, I love actually whenever you've got like different versions of the same song or the same theme, and like you introduce one, and the first time you're like you learn the melody, and you're like, oh yeah, that's in the back of my mind, and then later on they've got like a sad version of it, and then they've got like a boss fight version of it, and it just hearing that melody come back just makes it all that much more intense.
Yeah,
it really drives home the emotions.
No, I agree.
In 1999, Uematsu creates another incredible soundtrack for Final Fantasy VIII.
And then Final Fantasy VIII comes out, and I'm like, oh my god, the opening cinematic, and I'm like, I got goosebumps going on.
Incredible first time, that cinematic.
Yeah,
Having
it still looks good even
has
today.
always been something that inspired me. It just amazes me. It is a big difference than just using instruments.
Final Fantasy VIII is probably my personal favorite.
And for the first time, Uematsu
All right,
teams up with
Talarico's
Asian
got
pop
it here.
icon Fei Wong with the song Eyes on Me. The single wins Song
That's
of
a
the
really
Year
good
at the
one.
14th Annual Japan Gold Disc Awards in 1999.
I didn't know
It is
that.
the first time music from a video game wins this award.
I think the singer was Chinese, and like it did really well in China too.
I think what did they say her name was Fei Wong. I think that's what they said.
Yeah, Faye, I know for sure. I don't remember.
I can't remember. I'm being racist right now. Just excuse my casual racism. but yeah,
no,
that could make sense.
I think she was a pop singer in China or something, and they got her for the one song. I think she's in two songs in the game, but yeah, no, that song is incredible.
Yeah, let's hear it again.
It's probably my personal favorite.
Oh, they don't play it here, but.
And for the first time, Uematsu teams up with Asian pop icon Fei Wong.
Yeah, it was Fei Wong. I wasn't racist. There you go. Suck it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Song Eyes on Me. The single wins Song of the Year at the 14th Annual Japan Gold Disc Awards in 1999. It is the first time music from a video game wins this award.
But this is kind of going into the feathers in this guy's cap here too. best-selling video game soundtrack of all time, all basically him. Wins an award, breaking the barrier for a
It's
video
basically
game.
like the Grammys of Japan, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's something I never knew about. I'm just going to be 100% honest here, and I don't think a lot of people didn't probably knew about this unless you were super really into this stuff.
I'm super really into this stuff, so I sing this guy's praises all the time.
But still, that's still wild to see.
Once in a while, I will go to a CD store and I'll hear Eyes on Me playing in the background. I'd start thinking, oh, that's such a familiar tune. I remember listening to that song a long time ago. And then it will dawn on me, oh yeah, I wrote that music. The fact
Humble
that Eyes on Me
brag
gets
over
played
here.
all over the place, it's one piece that I'm happy about.
Man of the people here.
Humble brag.
humble bragging here. Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and Nobuo Uematsu, the humblest of humbles.
Uematsu.
In 2000, Final Fantasy IX is released. Uematsu composes 160 pieces of music for the
Holy
new
Christ.
series. Nobuo also expands beyond games.
Yeah,
he writes the theme song for the anime series My Goddess. And
So
I didn't know that.
So that's interesting. A story about how he produced music, if I'm remembering this correctly, and I watched an interview or something. It was like Game Informer or something. It was much later, like more recent. And one of the ways he would produce music is basically he would come into work and he would try and figure out, like, he would try to complete an entire song in a day. And it didn't always work out that way, but it was like he would come in, he would be like, I've got this idea for a song. I want to try and mix this and this together and see what comes out of it. And another interesting story that I guess they've sort of skipped over is apparently for Final Fantasy VII, he pitched the Sephiroth theme, a One-Winged Angel. He pitched it to the rest of the team, and they're like, I don't know about that. And he had to fight them and like convince them that, hey, this is actually really good. And they eventually all came around to it. But apparently, like they thought it was like too intense, or it was the wrong theme or something.
Little
I
did
don't
they
know.
know.
Yeah. I don't know. You hear stories about that occasionally, but yeah, I don't know. He was very prolific in the amount of music he put out.
Yeah. Now, another thing too is just Final Fantasy IX was such a drastic departure from Final Fantasy 7 and 8 too.
Oh yeah. That's another thing. Completely different, like different art style, different sort of emotions, different story that it was trying to tell. Still a very like serious and sad story in the end, but
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here. Wasn't the game director also the guy who did Final Fantasy Tactics?
I don't know if it was the game director. I want to say Hamaguchi. So what happened was after Final Fantasy VII. No, Hamaguchi's later on. I'm sorry, that's the 7 remake. What's his name? Sakaguchi. Sakaguchi. I'm sorry, I'm mixing the names up. They're kind of similar.
He mixing up the Gooches.
Well, these are some of the that's a terrible insult there. But I mean, to mix up the creator of Final Fantasy. So with Final Fantasy VII, the creator of Final Fantasy was involved directly in Final Fantasy 1 through 7. And then with 8, he sort of took a backseat role as almost like a producer, and he was trying to let some of the junior staff take over. And that's how a lot of the sort of wackier sort of changes happened in Final Fantasy 8. They got a little bit out of hands. They wound up having to cut half of the game for Final Fantasy 8. And so with Final Fantasy 9, he came back and he said, no. We're returning to our roots. I want to make something like the classic Final Fantasies, the vision I had for the classic, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like the before 7, because he thought they had strayed too far with 7 and 8 from what the original Final Fantasy formula was supposed to be. And so, yeah, Hironobu Sakaguchi, the name's now back in my mind. He came back, he reprised his role, and this was the last game that he was like fully, like 100% the lead on, and for that reason and many others, a lot of fans of the franchise as a whole, like people who played through 1 through 6 and like have been with the franchise the whole time, consider 9 to be like the ultimate masterpiece. And again, a big part of that is also the music.
Then I don't know what he's trying to imply here, Mr. AC.
I don't know either.
I have to look that one up here.
By Japanese pop stars. But has the talented composer reached the peak of his fame?
I would say no.
The year is 2001, and Final Fantasy X is out for the PlayStation 2. In less than 3 months, more than 1 million copies of Final Fantasy X are sold.
This seems like part of the episode's missing, because this is a drastic jump here from 9 to 10.
I think they well, as far as like Final Fantasy games, it goes like Final Fantasy X wasn't actually that long after Final Fantasy IX.
No.
It was what, 2000 to 2001. Like
Yeah,
it
was basically a year. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just that they were simultaneously developing, and this is what I mentioned before. Sakaguchi was like the direct lead on 9. I
Mhm.
think they had another lead on 10. I think Sakaguchi was involved in 10, but like it was another director, I think, for the most part.
And once again, the new hardware enables Uematsu to expand his art even further. For a change of pace, he writes a heavy metal piece that surprises some gamers.
Yeah. When I first saw Final Fantasy X, I was blown away.
Who the fuck is that guy?
I'm like, it's a rock video.
Oh yeah, that's the first time he showed up.
Yeah.
That's cool. That was so different from typical Final Fantasy titles, because normally we have a very orchestral kind of back.
Mohammed AC Wright, Senior Lead Production Analyst, Square Enix USA.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. I have no idea where this guy came from suddenly.
It's probably. Oh, you can see Final Fantasy 11 in the background. So I don't know when this video was put out. Oh, you can see there's pain there. That's 10 2. Yeah.
So it was probably around the launch of Final Fantasy 11.
2005, 6, somewhere on there.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun with this hard rocking, soundtrack.
I just wanted to create something that is obviously different.
And it was.
To match up with the sequence.
On May 28th of the same year, Nobuo Uematsu makes it into Time Magazine's feature, Time 100, The Next Wave Innovators.
Really?
A year later, Nobuo's latest work appears in Final Fantasy XI.
They just brushed over that one. He made it into the top 100 anyway.
Well, in hindsight, he wound up not doing a whole lot of like major stuff after this. Like he's been involved in a lot of other games since then. Like I think he had Lost Odyssey.
Yeah, Lost Odyssey. You could tell he played a huge part in that game sound.
Yeah, and then he did like Fantasian. He's done like a couple of main themes for different Final Fantasy games. I mentioned Final Fantasy 14. He did the main theme for that. Answers. So he's been involved, but he hasn't composed an entire soundtrack since like this sort of early 2000s.
Yeah, the last
he might have with Fantasian. I'm not sure.
Like everything that Fantasian was the last one he did as like his credited work. I got it up here right now. But he's done a lot of themes. He also did the not the Final Fantasy. He did the Smash Brothers Brawl main theme. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember reading that.
Yeah, but it seems
that's a good song too.
he went to Mistwalker. I know that. And he basically started doing all the Mistwalker soundtracks. He did Blue Dragon. He did Lost Odyssey. He did what's that?
Last Remnant.
Last Remnant. No, there was another. The Last Story as well. He did that one too.
Yeah.
He did all the music for that as well. So he basically left Square pretty much after this was like filmed. It feels like, and
Well,
then
he still comes back to collaborate.
yeah, he does like collaborations, but he's been basically just randomly popping up on at other studios to do whatever game he feels like. Well, Miss Walker was also founded by former Final Fantasy and Square devs too.
Yeah, yeah, he
Like
really did. He really did probably peak with 7, and like it wasn't like he dropped off with 8, 9, 10, but like 7 was his peak, and he never really came back from there. Like people just appreciate the music that he produced for that time,
Mhm.
and of course, as I mentioned earlier, he's gone on to leave such a massive legacy. Like so many game developers, and you mentioned like all the different people who trained under him who've then done music for different games,
different,
JRPGs.
yeah, different Square JRPGs even.
Yeah, yeah, and then I mentioned earlier, Expedition 33, directly inspired by Final Fantasy 8 and directly inspired by Nobuo Uematsu. Um, so yeah, it's got quite the legacy.
Oh yeah, without doubt. But I think honestly, you could probably argue that his last like super hit for like video game writing that was kind of more memorable was also because a lot of people were not happy with the Square game at the time. Was probably Lost Odyssey, to be honest with you.
I don't know. A Lost Odyssey is sort of a hidden gem, like something that like mega fans played and people talk about fondly nowadays. But I remember playing it when it released and nobody knew about it. Like it's definitely a sleeper hit. I wouldn't say it was a big thing. I would say the Final Fantasy 14 theme, which was done in 2014, 2013. That was his last big hurrah. That the Answers is the name of that song, and that one's a big one.
Hmm. I want to say probably what I should clarify my point is more so for like the people who know. Like I feel like when
Sure,
you talk
sure.
to people when you compare it
As a full soundtrack.
because they compare it to Final Fantasy 13. That's basically what it is. It's a war between the weebs, as they would say.
True, true. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Also, 13, like the soundtrack's great, but yeah, it's no Uematsu.
And in 2004, Uematsu's music is finally heard live in the US at the Dear Friends concert held at the Walt Disney Concert Hall.
We've already done similar performances and had concerts in Japan, but this is going to be our first outside of Japan.
That's crazy.
And I guess the main thing that I want to see is the reaction of the audience in the States. I've never seen that, so that's going to be something I really want to take home with me. And hopefully this is going to serve as a kickoff to other shows.
Oh, and
The
it did.
show sells out in one day.
When I heard the good news, I was in Tokyo, and I was in disbelief. I couldn't believe it. I was very surprised and very shocked. At the same time, I was very happy. I was curious to see why it sold out so quickly.
Now, did you ever go see any of these at all, Grim?
No, I want to. Like I said, there's the one this summer. If the tickets aren't sold out, I might try and go to that. It's in New York. This 3 days, so it's gonna be. The first 2 days will be like I think it's redoing a lot of replaying a lot of his music from not just Final Fantasy, but like Chrono Trigger and Lost Odyssey, and like across all of his sort of discography.
Mhm.
And then the third day is supposed to be like more experimental sort of remixes and new music, and like I don't know. It sounds like a fun time. I would love to go to one of these, or even to just like the Final Fantasy orchestras that travel. They do those like once a year. They'll go around. You can go to the West Coast, East Coast. Doesn't matter. They'll wind up somewhere near you.
Yeah, I'm very excited about going to that Square show in May. I can't wait to hear how it. You know what? Let me rephrase that. I know I'm gonna like it. I'm more curious to see how my wife's gonna react to it.
Right. Yeah, I went to PAX a couple of years ago, and they had some live music, and I went with a buddy of mine at the time, and like I was trying to get everybody like let's go listen to this game music. They're doing like a live concert, and everybody's like, no, we're gonna go to the bar. It'll be more fun. And I was like, you guys have no idea. It was incredible. I don't. It's like, hey, different strokes for different folks, but I don't know. Live music over alcohol any day.
Exactly. You can have alcohol at the live
You
music.
can, you can do them both. That's true. I did do both. Both me and my buddy that went to the concert did
Exactly.
both. So, yeah.
You know?
Today, Nobuo's work is legendary, and the Final Fantasy franchise has sold more than 49 million games around the world.
It's only gotten better from
that's
there.
always been present with the Final Fantasy series is that it has a very well-rounded musical score.
The music is so great in Final Fantasy that immediately when you turn on a Final Fantasy game, you hear the soundtrack rolling into your speakers and you know you're in for a big, big adventure.
But the composer from Kochi remains humble.
To me, creating music
This is
for
Final
the
Fantasy
series is something I just do. Not just as a living, but because I just like to create music.
Yeah,
this is the meme scenes, the meme cut
Will
scene.
help bridge the gap between
The
game
best
music
looking guy
and film
in the
music.
place. 3 pixels.
I think it's going to arrive there. The games are played by kids, but when the kids grow up, games will be played by parents too. When we get to that point, games will be lined up on the same shelves as TV and the movies. And the difference between game music and other music will probably disappear.
And until that day, Uematsu will continue to raise the bar for music and gaming.
There are people who work best under pressure, and those who can push aside the pressure and create something nice. I probably fall under both of those categories. Lately, I think it's the relaxed, unstrained music, as opposed to the forced music, that comes naturally.
It's steel.
I think that's what makes it brilliant. Not that I'm totally brilliant, just that I want to become so.
There's about 500 people in the world who do what we do, music composition. And I would have to say that Nobuo Uematsu's music is
Hey, look,
the
it's
best
Advent
of the
Children.
best. And his music being known
That's an
all over the
interesting
world,
inclusion.
he is number one. Absolutely.
I love all the Final Fantasy VIII representation. Let's go. It's the best. It's the best Final Fantasy soundtrack. That or 14, but 14 is like cheating, sort of, because it just has everything in it.
Alrighty, that will conclude that portion of that episode of G4's Icons. Grim, what did you think about that episode?
Yeah, it was really good. Like I said, a lot of the stuff I'm already familiar with. I'm a big fan or nerd of Uematsu already, or just Final Fantasy in general. But I did learn a lot, especially about some of the classic games, and I'm really curious about what CA said about Aerith's theme copying for Final Fantasy VI. I did want to look into that.
Yeah, definitely look into that afterwards. But yeah, man, I feel like that was probably one of my more favorite episodes in terms of their quality of production. I learned a lot, and I thought they did a really good job with the audio editing for that episode, especially because a person that they were covering is a musical composer. So I think that they did a good job weaving that in there. I know a lot of soundtracks that I recognized. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, just a quick Google search, and it seems like the song from Final Fantasy 16 is an opera, or Final Fantasy 6 opera scene called Aria di Mezzo Caratteri. But forgive my terrible Italian, or Latin, perhaps. I'm not sure. But it has a lot of the same melodies, the same chord structures, all in D major, or a significant part is in D major, which is sort of an emotional sort of tone that it lends. So yeah, I guess apparently there's a lot of similarities between those two songs.
He ripped off himself. That's what we're hearing.
He copied his own homework.
Exactly. But yeah, that was a very fun episode there. Really did enjoy that. I hope everyone had a fun time learning about all sorts of facts about Japan and Final Fantasy and many other things out there. Uh, couldn't find probably a better person to come with than my friend here, Mr. Grimm. I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully come back on a few more times in the future. I got a couple other things I'm working on behind the scenes, and would love to just have you on more. I enjoy talking to you because you know what you talk about, which is better than some people I've had on the show.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, I picked the topic, so I knew what I was coming into. But thanks again for having me, and yeah, for sure. As long as the schedule lines up, as you know, I'm a busy guy. Worked 13 hours today, so
Yeah.
end of a long day, but a good way to end the day.
Yes, and I do appreciate you toughing it out. Obviously, we were supposed to do this like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think you had a scheduling mishap, and then another scheduling mishap, and then we were supposed to start at 8 o'clock Central, and then we moved to 8:30 because I was running behind. It's like fate did not want things to work out, but hey, we got it done, and it was a fun time.
Yeah, I had a wonderful time, and like I said, Grim doesn't do any YouTubing or social media stuff like that, but you know, you can listen to the other appearances that he was on because you know he's one of the cool friends I've made along this journey of going through the internet. Obviously, as we said before, we met in the Mr. Matty Plays Discord and been friends ever since. Just talking about video games. I like listening to him talk. Very analytical guy when it comes to talk about gaming. Knows what he's talking about, and you know he's in my Discord too. If you're in that, you know, if you ever want to talk video games with him, message him. He knows what he's talking about, and he will turn you on to a lot of video games as well.
Yeah, give me a wave. I'm happy to also talk about here recently. My latest obsession is with Expedition 33. I just can't stop spewing fun facts about that game. So.
Yeah, you and my buddy Tyler would be best friends, I think, for that one. But as for me, that will probably conclude this episode for tonight. No show this Wednesday. There will be no backlog battling. That will be a bi-weekly show now, so we will be putting that off until next week. Now that my schedule has become more tolerable, and we will be back this Thursday with another episode of Legacy Loading with our friend Mr. J Bongo. He'll be joining us, and we'll be talking about the great gaming crash of the 1980s. So that will be the topic for that episode, and we will be watching the G4 Icons episode about that as well. And of course, this upcoming Friday, Cream Nada will be back with me as we cover this week's recap of video gaming news. Kind of been a slow week though. Hasn't really been too many big announcements yet, Grim, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. We had State of Play last week, so
State of Play, all the Xbox news, like all this like just random crazy stuff that just kind of dropped for like 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden this week, the biggest news that we got was well, I guess unfortunately the passing of the Castlevania dev.
Castlevania, yeah.
The Sega console designer.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot. I think there was something about like Starfield DLC or something going around, but that might have been from last week. I hadn't seen anything really.
And we got a new person joining us here, Mr. Fonz Gaming. Hi, how are you doing? We're actually just wrapping up right now, but thank you for joining. If you want to listen to the VOD after this and kind of get a feel for what we are, we just did an episode dedicated to Nobuo Uematsu. So if you want to check that, listen and kind of learn some more stuff earlier, subscribe, stick around, check out some other videos. Nice to see ya. Hopefully you come back as I said, this upcoming Thursday maybe, and join us then. But welcome. Yeah, but that's all I really got to say for that. Grim, like I said, I'll talk to you more after we end the stream, and we'll definitely touch base about some other things. Got some more stuff, more unboxing videos are coming down the pipeline. I did also upload a new unboxing for the Guilt video. The Guilt Collector's Edition. So if you're wondering about that video game, I did have the limited collector's edition unboxing for that channel. And I just got my Lollipop Chainsaw collector's edition from Limited Run Games in today, so that will be coming next week as well. So with that being said, everyone, thank you for stopping by. It was wonderful to see you here. And once again, Fonz, thank you for stopping by. Sorry that you caught us right at the end of the show, but hopefully I'll see you on Thursday or any other time. But don't be a stranger around here. We love to hear what your favorite games are. And until next time, everyone, have yourself a wonderful night, and we'll see you Thursday. Have a good one.